Good morning. 2 Kings 9:14-26. In this chapter, God makes Jehu a new king of Israel to bring judgment to Ahab's family. Ahab had already died in a war because of God's judgment. After him, his son Ahaziah became a king. But he didn't turn to God. Instead, he relied on idol and ended up dying in his bed, just as God said he would. Then Ahab's other son, Joram, became king. But as we see in this passage, he also died just as God had said. Now, let's look at where Joram died. It was in Naboth's field. This field was taken by Ahab after he falsely accused and killed Naboth to get his land. God let Joram die there too, show that his judgment is certain and that he remembers the wrong committed. This passage shows us something important. Ahab's family tried so hard to get what they wanted through all the sort of tricky and complicated ways. But in the end, they ignored God and only faced judgment. It wasn't just Joram. His nephew, the king of Judah, Ahaziah, and Joram's mother, Jezreel, also met their end through God's judgment. People often live busy and complicated lives, chasing after their own desires. But God's judgment is simple and clear. Through this passage, let's take a moment to think about our own lives. Our lives might feel complicated because of our desires, but our relationship with God is simple. It is about whether we walk with Him or not. When we walk with God, we can find true peace even in the busyness. Today, I hope you walk with God and find the rest and true peace He gives you. Today's passage can be split into two main parts. First, Jehu's plan to revolt, and second, Joram's death. First part is Jehu's rebellion, verses 14-16. In verses 14 and 15, we learn two important things. First, Jehu is anointed by God and decided to betray King of Joram of Israel. And the second, at that time, Joram was wounded in the battle against Aram at the Ramoth Gilead and had to return to Jezreel to recover. We see Jehu obeying God's command to go against Joram, while Joram was trying to protect Ramoth Gilead by teaming up with his nephew Ahaziah, the king of Judah. Israel's war here wasn't following God. In verse 15, we notice Jehu carefully keeping his rebellion a secret. By verse 16, Jehu is on his way to Jezreel in the chariot. Meanwhile, Joram is still recovering and Ahaziah of Judah is visiting him. Now, let's look at the second part, Joram's death, verses 17-26. In verse 17, as Jehu and his army approached Jezreel, a watchman spots them and sends a messenger to ask, "Do you come in peace?" This question has two meanings. First, it could mean asking if they come for war or not. Second, from God's perspective, it shows that the state of the Ahab's family, who have lost peace because they have turned away from God. Jehu responds, "What do you have to do with peace?" This means peace is meaningless now because of Joram's evil rule. It shows Jehu's determination to end Joram's reign. The messenger doesn't return, but instead joined Jehu's army. Joram notices his messenger didn't return, sends another one. The same things happen. By verse 20, the watchman realizes it is Jehu, known for driving furiously, and informs Joram, who then goes out to meet Jehu in verse 21. Even at this point, Joram doesn't know why Jehu is coming. They met at Naboth's field, the place where Ahab falsely accused and killed Naboth to take his land. This is the moment God brings judgment on Ahab's family. God declared judgment on Ahab when he took Naboth's land, and now this judgment is being fulfilled against all of Ahab's descendants. God never forgets sin. In verse 22, Joram asked Jehu, "Do you come in peace?" Jehu answered, "How can there be peace as long as your mother Jezreel carry on her witchcraft and idolatry?" King Joram realized Jehu's intentions and tried to flee, warning Ahaziah about the rebellion in verse 23. In verse 24, Jehu shot an arrow that pierced Joram's heart, killing him instantly. Then in verse 25, Jehu ordered Joram's body to be thrown into the Naboth's field, fulfilling God's judgment mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 21. Verse 26, make it clear that this is God's judgment on Ahab's family for the innocent blood of Naboth. Our lives can get really busy and complicated sometimes. Like Ahab's family, we might try to all kind of thing and make deal to get what we want. But that kind of busy life doesn't bring peace. It leads to God's judgment. Being too busy can mess up our minds and take away our true peace. But living with God is different. When we follow God's word and His guidance, like Jehu did, we can find real peace even if life seems complicated. True peace doesn't come from what's happening around us, but from our relationship with God. So let's remember these 3 P. First P is prioritize God's word. Read and meditate on God's word every day. It helps refresh our heart and mind and find God's purpose even when life is busy. Second P is pray for guidance. Make it a habit to pray and ask God to lead your life. This helps you find the peace from God even in the complicated situation. Third P is practice obedience. Listen to what God says and action on it. Even if you don't always understand, when you obey God's word, you will find real peace in it. Let's remember these 3 P. Prioritize, pray, practice.